Well, welcome to a special edition of the Jerry Reynolds Show from the beautiful studios here at McCreary's Home Furnishings. Obviously, still the site of the best furniture deals in the Sacramento area and the best quality furniture you can get. And anyway, so just wanted to touch base with the several things here. It's well past mid-season of the NBA season, and as you know, I have opinions on just about everything, and as you know, probably some of them would differ from yours and might even appear a little stupid. But then again, I'm probably right more than you are. But anyway, just to go through some of the awards that I would have at past mid-season, and having doing it, always know that at the end of the season these things change. But kind of where we are. Just want to kind of touch base with these. And then I want to get into some, in my opinion, things that would make the NBA game better, the season better, things of that nature. And here again, see what your thoughts are along those lines as well. So let's get right to it. The most valuable player in the NBA. All right. Well, my opinion is very, very easy here. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. And you might say, well, why Giannis? Well, he's a reigning MVP. He currently is the very best player on the very best team with the best record, so I think that's kind of self-explanatory. I think other strong candidates would be LeBron James, who is the best player on the best team in the West and the best record team in the West, and LeBron still LeBron, so you put him there. Other guys, that I think deserve some consideration. Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets obviously has them, up there in a really solid position in the West. No question, a top-level player. I think Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks has really put them in a position that no one thought that they could be in. So those are some of the other candidates. But to me, it's clearly, Giannis, to my mind, a runaway at this stage. Just a marvelous young player. Seems like a great teammate, and just not only a great offensive player, but really a great defensive player as well. Just an amazing story. I kind of would say, too, my most valuable player for the Kings here at this stage of the season would surprise most of you, if not all of you, and that would be Nemanja Bjelica. And I think Nemanja, has just been terrific because he's been consistently good, been available, has played many positions, certainly hasn't missed games, has been available. I just think on so many levels, he's the guy that the Kings can count on the most. It's been a disappointing season, but he has not been disappointing in any way, shape, or form. So that would be my kind of mid-season MVP for the Kings. Rookie of the Year, I think this is an easy one at this point, mainly because Zion Williamson, the great talent of New Orleans that came by way of Duke, been injured and just has played 7 or 8 games. And there's no doubt if he can stay healthy, he's a remarkable talent. But having said that, the guy that clearly is the Rookie of the Year will be, I think, short of something amazing happen, as Ja Morant, the former Murray State player, drafted second in the draft with Memphis Grizzlies, and Ja has really been the leader of that team. They were supposed to be the worst team in the West, really, and now they're currently very solid in 8th playoff position. They're over 500, and he has had a lot to do with it. Seems to be a natural leader, and at 20 years old, pretty remarkable. So he'd be my number 1 pick there. Probably, number 2, I think would have to be probably Tyler Hero, kind of a mid-first round pick out of the University of Kentucky, plays for the Miami Heat. The reason I put him this high is because he's a valuable player, one of the top 7 or 8 players with the Heat, and they're a big winner. And I always say winning should get you a lot more consideration than just stats. And so he's a big reason why the Heat have won a lot more than anybody thought they would. So Tyler Hero. And I guess most improved player, this is always tough, and this is one likely to change a lot by the time the season ends, but a couple of leading candidates. I think the number one guy is a guy named Devontae Graham. Really played last year, was mostly a kind of a two-way player, played some G League, some with the Charlotte Hornets, but was up and back, really didn't have anything established. Now he's a leading scorer for the Charlotte Hornets and established himself as a top player, and I don't think you can get much more improved than that. He's carved out a very nice niche for himself, as it were. Now, I think the second guy is a little different because he was really good last year, and he's a major star this year, and that's Domantas Sabonis, the son of the great Arvydas Sabonis, playing for the Indiana Pacers. One of those guys that had really good stats, was an excellent player last year on a very good Indiana team, and of course the Indiana team is even better, and he's playing at an all-star level. In fact, is an all-star. So his game is translated to where he's went from being a good player on the Pacers to the very best player on the Pacers and an all-star. So, and Sabonis on his way to being a major star in this league, and they're just which was a tremendous trade that the Pacers made to get Sabonis and Victor Oladipo from Oklahoma City, as you think back years for Paul George. I've always said, just keep this in mind. I think Paul George has made two teams better by leaving, the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Pretty remarkable. Coach of the Year, I think this is probably one of the easiest ones for me at this point, Nick Nurse of Toronto. They won the World Championship last year. They lost two starters. Kawhi Leonard, their most valuable player in the playoffs on their World Championship. Danny Green, another key starter. They lost those two guys, and what have they done? They have a better record today at the same state of the season than they had last year with those guys. So I just think you can't do a better job than he's doing. My second place, and there's 4 or 5 coaches that would deserve consideration, but my second would be Tyler Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, based kind of on the John Morant thing, is that, hey, he took a team that was supposed to be probably dead last in the West, and here again, they're over 500. So a bunch of young guys. It's a totally young team. And they've gelled. The chemistry's great. I don't know if they can keep it up all year, but right now you got to give Coach Jenkins a lot of credit. So see what you think about that. And now sixth man, I think there's so many guys that you could put in there. Obviously, the way Buddy Hield is playing for the Kings, if he'd been there all year and doing exactly this, you could give him consideration. But he's only been a sixth man for a few games, so I really can't put him in this category, certainly not at this level. But my number one guy is Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers. This guy, he's a killer. I mean, 19 points a game, comes off the bench. He's really probably the second or third best player on the team. He just doesn't start, but one of those guys that makes the team better every night. And in the past, Lou Williams on the Clippers has been a sixth man of the year several times, but he's not playing at the same level of Harrell this year. So I give it to Montrezl Harrell as the sixth man. And I think my second would be maybe a little bit, a lot of people wouldn't agree with it, but Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics, just a great defender, physical. He's one of those guys that every coach in the league would like to have, because he's going to go in there and knock you around a little bit and make you like it. Just a tough buckaroo, and really has a lot to do with the success of the Celtics. And I think, one of those guys that helps you win games, and that's not a lot of six men can do that, but he does. So those are my, my midseason awards. Hope you agree with some of them, and at least I wanted to give you, my reason and thinking on it, and so maybe it makes a little sense. Now let's get into some real opinions here. I won't say they're Jerry Rants, but they probably are a little bit. Just things that I think need to be changed or would make the league, the NBA, a better game, more enjoyable, maybe more fair, all the above. And not that the league is waiting for my opinions, although they should be. You hear me out there? They should be. Anyway, so see what you think of these. Number one, fewer timeouts. Too many timeouts. I know you got to sell commercials, but you can, run them along the bottom as the game's going along, like they do in soccer or like they do in golf. Have the game in one corner and while it's going on. I mean, there's a lot of ways of doing it, but the reason I say fewer timeouts, speed the game up. And you say, well, coaches want more timeouts. Of course they do. They'd like to have 100. They'd like call one every 3 seconds just to hear themselves talk. I know. I've been there. But it isn't necessary. And fewer makes it fair for everybody. It's the same for one team as the other. And like I say, anything speed the game up, keep the action going is a good thing. See what you think on that. The second thing I think is really necessary, all the different challenges. I think it's good to have the challenges, certainly to try to get in case there's missed calls. All that is very important. But I kind of agree with Grant Napier on this. If it takes more than a minute, it should never take more than a minute. If within a minute, make the decision. And if you can't make it, then the play call stands. Okay, got that? Got that, officials? Got that back in Secaucus, New Jersey? If you can't make the decision it's that close to call, whatever the official called, stands. Move on. NFL, you ought to get with that too, by the way. You guys taking way too long, and you're still wrong sometimes. I think coaches should get an automatic two challenges. At least 2 challenges, and no loss of timeouts whether you win or lose. So that way, if you feel you're late in the game and you've lost your challenges, you don't have a timeout, but there's a huge play that could change a game, it makes no sense to me. You should always be able to challenge that, and of course the league can at any time as well. So think on that. Just a play that came up recently, and I talked about it on our post-game or pre-game broadcast the other day, the goaltending challenge or unchallenge, as it were, in a Portland game where there's a clear goaltend. The officials missed it, didn't call goaltending, and it really cost probably Portland the game. Well, the reason at that time, it can't be, if the official doesn't call a goaltend, you can't challenge it. Well, my opinion is you should be able to challenge it regardless whether they call or not as a coach, or they can look at it. The other officials can say, we'll look at this and challenge it ourselves on the next dead ball, much like they do 3-point shots. Because as we know, on a 3-point shot, they may call 3. But they'll decide they want to look at it. They'll give a signal to the crew at the mid court, and they'll look at it and may find out that it was a 2, the toe was on the line or something like that, or vice versa. So certainly there's no reason you couldn't wait till the next dead ball, and if it's goaltended and you didn't call it, take the points off, get it right. Okay, to me that makes sense. Another little pet peeve of mine, being old school, as you all know. Of course, I am old, so why wouldn't I be old school? But I've never liked the NBA rule to where at the end of, within the last 2 minutes of the game, where if you call a immediate timeout after a made basket or something, you can advance the ball past to half court. I don't see any reason you should ever gain, be able to advance the ball without using it by pass or dribble like actual basketball, like you see in college or you grew up playing. It's just an NBA rule that kind of I think a bogus kind of rule in their mind to give a team that's behind a better chance to win, and I don't think that's even fair. Again, take that rule out. Same for everybody. If you got 5 seconds left, get the ball in bounds, you still can get down the court quick enough to get a shot. So I just think in the long run it'd be a fairer game. I won't say, a lot of teams certainly have a chance with 0.8 of a second to win a game by moving it to half court, but why should they? Just my thought. I think my big one, and I know a lot of you fans love the three-point shot. You'd like to see 80 zillion of them a game. Well, I actually think there's still a place for the big man in basketball, and they ought to allow to have some post play. And the three-point shot is overdone, especially the corner three. That's a cheap shot. It's about 3 foot closer. Why should it be worth 3 points than the shots behind the arc? If it's not behind the arc, it's not a three-pointer. Take the corner three out. It's just a nice little jump shot. You say, well, now what will that do? That'll take away a lot of three-point shots. Sure it will. There'll still be a lot of them made and taken, but there won't be the shorter ones they won't get credit for. And what you'll get is more fast break opportunities where guys are running the full speed layups, dunks, more exciting basketball. Instead of guys running to the corners, they'll be running to the basket. And you'll also maybe get a little more post play, which I think is missing in the game today, to where it's, 3-point shots and layups and really not enough post play, where that's still a skill and should be rewarded. So think on that one. And maybe the last one, and I know I felt this way for years, is on the lineup on free throws. When a team is shooting free throws, where the players are lined up. I like the college rule. If you watch a college game, they have moved the inside guys back a full space behind that little box. Now, you say, now, why would you do that? Well, for two reasons. Number one, it will cut down on all the wrestling and stuff that you see. Number one is like, well, why are guys allowed to do that? Well, when everybody's wrestling, nothing's called. I mean, it's just too much contact, and I think that would eliminate a lot of that. But more importantly for me is, in my opinion, if you miss free throws, you should have less of a chance of getting the rebound, not a better chance. And by moving everybody back, that means the opposition that's not shooting the free throws has a better chance of getting the misses, and I think they should. If you can't make free throws, why should you get it back? Okay, that's the idea. They're free throws, free points. So, hope you give that some thought. So, those are my kind of thoughts on the rules. Now I want to go to one other thing. So now that I got you completely bored, or mad at me, whatever, I'm going to give you a few opinions on the trades that happened. Just a couple that struck me as interesting, and see if you agree on that. I really like the Warriors trade, by the way. I know a lot of the media and some fans, not big fans of Andrew Wiggins. I can't say that I am a big fan of Andrew Wiggins either, but, the fact, because it always comes up, well, he was the first pick in the draft and he's making this kind of money, he's not that good. Well, that's probably true, except that he is good, and the Warriors don't need him to be their main guy. They'll have those guys named Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So I think he'll fit in brilliantly with that. And Steve Kerr is as good as anybody at utilizing talent. So I really think that and it's probably a good trade for Minnesota as well, because D'Angelo Russell was not going to fit long term with the Warriors. But he will fit very well, I think, with Minnesota. So it's one of those trades, like most trades should be, is benefit both teams. But I really do like it for the Warriors. I don't like it for the Kings because, in my mind, this means that the Warriors, they'll be back. I won't say they'll be back on top, but they're going to be back really contending again. So sadly, that's one of the teams that's behind the team Kings currently. And so that part I don't like, but from a basketball standpoint, good move by the Dubs. I think maybe the most valuable trade will turn out to be the one that the Clippers made, getting Marcus Morris from the New York Knicks. Morris a 6'10" player that can play the power forward or center. Give him toughness, give him another shooter, and I just think that maybe put the Clippers over the top to where they'll be the best team in the West. They don't have the best record right now, and they may not have the best record, but I think they'll be the best team, and I think they are better with this addition than the Lakers. So you have to like that. I'm not as, the Heat made a big trade to get Andre Iguodala and Jay Crowder from the Memphis Grizzlies. Now they gave up Justice Winslow, a good young player, Deion Waiters, James Johnson, which was moved on to Minnesota, all that. The primary thing was that the Heat wanted Andre Iguodala, and like Jay Crowder was kind of a throw in there. And I'll tell you, I think actually Jay Crowder's a better player right now. I mean, I think that the Heat thinks they're getting Andre Iguodala of 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not sure they are. We'll see. But I think Jay Crowder will really help that team. And I do like it actually from Memphis's point of view because Iguodala wasn't playing for them. And they got Justice Winslow, who, if he can get and stay healthy, gives them another young player that will fit in with the young core they have. A terrific defender. So, it's a consistent move, I think, that falls in line with what they're trying to do. And so, again, it should work out for both teams. Like I say, I'm just not as convinced it's going to work out for the Heat in the way they think. But I've always been a fan of Jay Crowder's, and I think he's going to add a lot to that franchise. And certainly with Andre, maybe by season's end and playoffs, he can be sharp enough to give them the 15 minutes that they need to guard certain people, because he, in his prime, was absolutely great. Don't know if I think that prime may be gone, but we'll see. And we'll touch base with this later. So anyway, that's that's kind of it for me. I'm just, that's about all the thoughts I've had in the last couple of weeks. So I'll probably be drained now for another few days, and just have to be able to kind of hang around Mrs. Reynolds and see what she wants me to do the next few days, because that does it for me. So let us know what you think. I hope some of these make sense to you. Hope you enjoyed the little bonus situation we've had here, and I'll certainly, if you like it, we'll do more of it. And if you don't, just tell me to shut up, okay? Say, Jerry, go away. But unless you do, you might get more of it. Thanks.